Picture this scene. A 9-year-old boy comes home crying because he wasn't invited to a rich friend's party. The reason? He was poor. This kid could have held on to that hurt forever or accepted that he was born this way, but he did something different. He asked his father, "How do I become rich?" The answer he received completely changed his life. And today, decades later, that same boy is one of the most influential financial educators in the world. His name, Robert Kiyosaki. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you this true story and the 7 brutal lessons this kid learned about money. Lessons that will blow your mind and that, if you apply them, could change your financial life forever. Look, this isn't another sugar-coated motivational story. It's the real story of how a 9-year-old boy discovered that everything society teaches about money is wrong. Completely wrong. Robert had 2 fathers. His biological father, who was a university professor, had a PhD, earned well but lived paycheck to paycheck. And his best friend's father, who barely finished elementary school, but was building a business empire. 2 men, 2 completely opposite mindsets about money. One taught study to get a good job. The other taught learn to make money work for you. And it was by following the second one's advice that Robert discovered secrets that most people take a lifetime to understand, if they ever understand them at all. When Robert went to talk to his friend's father about how to become rich, he expected lectures, books, maybe some philosophical advice, but what happened was completely different. The man looked at the 2 boys and said, "I'm going to teach you how to make money, but not like in school. You're going to work for me. 3 hours every Saturday for 10 cents an hour. 10 cents an hour. This was in 1956. It was peanuts even for that time. But the boys agreed because they wanted to learn. The work was killer. Taking canned goods off shelves, cleaning dust, reorganizing everything. 3 hours of manual labor for 30 cents. After 3 weeks, Robert was fed up. He came to his boss furious. "You promised to teach me about money and all I do is slave labor." And that's when the first brutal lesson came. The man said, "Life won't sit down with you and teach you about money. Life will push you around, squeeze you, make you feel pressure." And that's exactly what I'm doing. Most people accept being pushed around by life. You're reacting exactly like 95% of people react, with anger, asking for more money, threatening to quit. But if you want to really learn about money, you need to understand that the problem isn't how much you earn. The problem is that you're trapped in the trap, working for money instead of making money work for you. After that conversation, the rich dad did something even more shocking. He said, "Now you're going to work for free. That's right, 0 cents per hour." Robert panicked. How could he work for free? But the man explained, "If you can get angry over 10 cents, imagine if I offered $1, $5, $10 per hour?" And that's exactly what he did. After a few weeks working for free, he called the boys and started making offers. "How about 25 cents per hour, $1, $2? With each offer, Robert's heart raced. $2 per hour would make him the richest kid in school. He could already picture the new bike, the toys, his friends' envy. But something inside him said no. And when the man offered $5 per hour, an absurd amount for a kid at that time, Robert stood firm. That's when the rich dad smiled and said, "Great, you passed the test. Most people have a price. Your emotions, fear, and greed control their decisions. You just proved you can think beyond emotions." That was the second lesson. People get trapped in the rat race because they're controlled by the fear of not having money and the greed to spend more. They work more to earn more, spend more, and need to work even more. It's an infinite cycle. After this experience, the rich dad taught the boys the most important difference in the financial world. And look, it's so simple you'll be amazed how most people don't understand this. He took a piece of paper and drew 2 squares. In the first, he wrote ASSET. In the second, liability, and gave the simplest definition ever. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. A liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. Sounds obvious, right? But here comes the shock. Most people think their house is an asset, but in reality, your house is a giant liability. It takes money out of your pocket every month: mortgage, taxes, maintenance, insurance. The rich dad explained, if you want to be rich, it's simple. Buy assets, avoid liabilities. When your assets generate more money than your expenses, you'll be rich. But here's the problem. Most people spend their lives buying liabilities, thinking they're assets: cars, houses bigger than they need, electronics. All of this takes money out of their pocket. The rich do the opposite. First, they buy assets that generate income. Only then do they use that income to buy luxuries. The difference is that when you buy a car with income from your assets, the car is essentially free. After weeks working for free and learning these lessons, Robert and his friend had a brilliant idea. They noticed that the store where they worked threw away comic books that didn't sell. Instead of letting the magazines be discarded, they asked to keep them. Then they created a library in Robert's garage. They charged 10 cents for entry, and kids could read as many magazines as they wanted. Since each magazine cost 10 cents at the store, it was a great deal for the kids. They hired Mike's younger sister to be the librarian and paid her $1 per week. In 3 months, they averaged $9.50 per week. Most importantly, they made money even when they weren't there. Money was working for them. This was the first time Robert understood in practice what it meant to make money work for you. They created a system that generated income without needing their physical presence. The library closed after a fight between the kids, but the lesson stayed forever. It's possible to create passive income even as a child, even without initial capital, even without experience. You just need to think differently. Years later, Robert realized that the poor dad, his biological father in Chaoen, had the best possible resume. PhD, good job, high salary, but he always struggled financially. Meanwhile, the rich dad had barely finished elementary school, but was building wealth consistently. The difference? Financial education. The rich dad explained, school teaches you to work for money. I'm going to teach you to make money work for you. School teaches that making mistakes is bad. I teach that not making mistakes is worse because you don't learn. He showed the boys that the rich don't work for salaries. They work to acquire assets. That's why many rich people technically earn low salaries or even zero, but have immense wealth. The difference between rich and poor isn't in how much they earn, but in what they do with what they earn, said the rich dad. Poor people and middle class buy liabilities. Rich people buy assets. And here's something that will shock you. The rich dad taught that your house shouldn't be your first investment. First, you buy assets that generate income. Then you use that income to buy your dream house. Why? Because when you buy a big house too early, it becomes a financial anchor. It prevents you from taking risks, from investing, from growing financially. One of the most shocking lessons Robert learned was about taxes. The rich dad explained something that completely changed his view of the system. Taxes were created to punish the rich, he said. But the rich didn't accept being punished. They found legal ways to get around it. And what's the main way? Corporations. The rich don't work as individuals. They create companies. And companies have completely different tax rules. Think about it. You as an individual earn money, pay taxes, and then spend what's left. A company earns money, spends first, and only pays taxes on what's left. It's the opposite. The rich dad taught, rich people don't work for money and then pay taxes. They create structures where money works for them, pay less taxes, and multiply wealth. That's why many billionaires pay proportionally less taxes than the middle class. It's not because they're dishonest, it's because they use the rules of the game intelligently. The lesson here isn't to evade taxes. That's illegal and stupid. The lesson is, learn the money rules that the rich know. Financial education is power. The last lesson the rich dad taught was about the most important skill for creating wealth. And it's not what you think. It's not math, it's not accounting, it's not programming. The most important skill is sales. The rich dad said, "You can be the best accountant in the world, but if you don't know how to sell your skills, you'll earn less than a mediocre salesperson. You can have the best product in the world, but if you don't know how to sell it, you'll go bankrupt." Robert learned this the hard way. When he wrote his first book, he wasn't the best writer, but he knew marketing and sales. That's why it became a bestseller. The rich dad forced Robert to work in different areas during adolescence: sales, marketing, accounting, construction management, not to become a specialist, but to understand how businesses work. Specialization is for employees, he said. General knowledge is for business owners. While the poor dad said study to get a good job, the rich dad said study to buy good businesses. And this mindset difference made all the difference in the final result. Look, this story is real. Robert Kiyosaki actually lived through this. And these 7 lessons he learned at age 9 changed not only his life, but the lives of millions of people around the world. Let me summarize the golden lessons. First, stop working just for money and start making money work for you. Second, your emotions are your enemies in financial decisions. Third, learn the real difference between asset and liability. Fourth, start small, but start. Fifth, financial education is worth more than any diploma. Sixth, learn the money rules that the rich know. Seventh, develop sales and business skills. Now I want to know, which of these lessons impacted you the most? Which one will you start applying today? Comment below. And if this story opened your mind, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. Every week I bring stories and lessons that can change your relationship with money. Share this video with that person who needs to hear these truths. Sometimes a story can be the turning point in someone's financial life. Remember, it doesn't matter how old you are now. If a 9-year-old boy could learn these secrets, so can you. The only difference is he had 2 dads. You have YouTube. Until the next video, and may you stop being pushed around by life and start pushing back.